is usually an open forum, and then we break into presentations or topics. Since we don't have any, it's just going to be open topics all night long. So that being said, I'd like to open up the floor for the first question of the evening.
All right, I'll jump in. I hope it's easy. One of the I use Google Calendar, and I have an Android Samsung phone. And what I sometimes will make changes on my computer, my laptop, on my calendar, or other times I use my phone. And what I found out, I don't know why, it says sync. I have the devices up in my app on the phone. And a lot of contacts, I have duplicates. The same basically same information, sometimes a little different because I'll sync up something and it'll sync up a little different version on my phone, and it doesn't recognize that 99% of it is the same. So then I'll go to make an addition, and it'll say exceeding 1,000 characters. So then I have to go through and carefully try to delete the duplicate. I mean, they're usually two separate entries, like a block of one and a block of the other. So what's with the syncing? Anybody have any idea? Better yet, how do I delete half of it without doing it manually? All right, I didn't mean to shut the show down.
I'm
I think you stumped the crowd here because, for one thing, it'd be beneficial if we could see this visually, what you have there. Is
yeah.
there a way
Which
for you? Go ahead.
which devices are you syncing?
I'm syncing my Google laptop Android computer, and I'm syncing my Samsung Android phone. And
What?
I'm using Google Contacts or Calendar and so forth for both.
Now, when you say Google Android, your
Well, Google,
device,
that's redundant. It's Android now.
Is
no,
that
your
is that a Chromebook?
No,
no, that's what I'm getting at. It's
So
an Android tablet, right?
no,
it's a
no,
laptop?
it's just a regular laptop. Yeah, it's with Windows, and I'm running. I use Google Mail. That's why I have Google Contacts.
Oh, you're
Oh,
just
oh,
talking
oh.
about Gmail
You,
on a computer.
okay.
Yeah, right.
You confused us because you were saying an Android
Yeah,
laptop.
I understand that would confuse you. I was my mistake, really.
I have the Google Mail and the whole Google ecosystem. I on my computer. I access it from computers and from my phone. I don't find that it tends to duplicate stuff.
What type of phone are you using?
I have the Samsung Ultra 24.
Okay.
This 25 is just coming out now. I bought it a year ago, basically. And then I have a LG laptop running Windows 11. And it didn't always used to do that. Something happened and somewhere along the upgrades. For example, if I gotta find one that's I've been trying to fix them.
Where do you think the duplicates are showing up on your phone or are they showing up on your laptop?
I believe both. In
You
other
believe,
words, what it's doing, if I make,
do
if I
you
make
have the,
say I have a thing on, CSC, CSS rather, computer group, and then I'll make I'll use it my phone and change, say something that this is when I paid my dues or something, and I'll put it on note, on my and then under notes on my phone on my contact for CS, Chicago group, and then it then there's a sync function under settings with the apps for
Yeah.
Windows. I guess it's Windows is doing that, I assume, or is it Google? Maybe it's Google.
No, this would be Google. It's within the
Yeah.
Google ecosystem.
So it'll say sync the two. Even sometimes it'll pop up and ask me, you want to sync, your whatever it's called, apps, I guess.
I
And I say yes.
yeah.
So then what happens the next time I mean, it's automatic normally. It's normally set to auto sync. You know, you set that up on your phone. And so I'll go in there and I'll see the what was there before, what was on my laptop, and now what I've added is up to my when I made the addition. Now I have a whole new set of characters, like 600 characters or something, with the one change in it. You know, the one change is I updated at the time I paid my membership dues. So it's like it's not just it's syncing, but it's not recognizing that it's a minor change. It's keeping the old set of data and adding a whole new duplicate plus the change on the
Now
contact,
is this is in the contacts.
only in the contacts.
Yeah, it's duplicating contacts because you changed some kind of information that it thinks now makes this a new contact.
Well, it's
Well, it's not a no, it's not a new contact. There's only one contact name.
But
clarification. Is the duplicate entry showing up in your calendar or your contacts or both?
No, just in the contacts.
Because earlier in the conversation, you said you were using Google Calendar Sync and you were getting duplicate entries in
Yeah,
calendar.
I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to say I wasn't talking about I was talking about that I was using the Google you know, suite is the word, you know, calendar, email or Gmail, and what else says on Google? You know, the contacts,
Okay,
calendar,
so
and
your
Gmail
contacts are getting duplicated
within that same contact name.
within the same contact name. So you'll
Right.
have John Doe,
Yeah.
123 Anywhere Street.
Yep.
And it's got the fields in there for phone number at blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I'm gonna interrupt you. No, it doesn't change that part. All it changes is the notes. The
Then,
notes are duplicated only, not the main contact name. It's strictly the notes.
okay,
yeah,
Carl,
And I didn't think about it until you played back what I said.
so when you make a new note, it gets appended to the old stuff, and the old note and the new note are both there.
Yep,
And that is something you would have to go in and edit.
right,
yep,
right. And it could be just because if you make an edit in one, and then you go make an edit on one device, and then you go make the edit on the other device, it does not know which one takes precedence.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I'd have to double check it because it's been going on for about a year now, and I don't know. It seemed like it you know, just happened with whatever updates, you know, happen. But I believe both notes are identical. In other words, it seems to edit both device, you know, it's the same app, of course, Google, but
Mhm.
I believe that because I will start deleting from they're like one on top of the other, you know, in the note area. And
Yeah,
so
is
I'll
this
go from the
something you could,
bottom
do you
and
want
I'll
to share?
start,
Can you share a screen with this
well, let me see if I can do that. If I
on
have,
your Windows 11 machine?
Yeah,
uh, possibly, yeah, let me shrink this down.
So we could see what's going on here.
yeah.
Yeah,
And what you're saying is it then tells you that you're over the character limit.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I go
think I
to
know
add
what's
stuff
happening there.
and they'll say limit is 1,000 characters or something like that. And it says exceeding, you know.
Are you editing contacts a lot?
Oh, yeah, well, as a matter of fact, my contact, I don't use like a notepad or anything. My contacts, for example, are not just phone numbers. So if I, you know, buy some kind of a paint for my house or something, and I'll put down like basement floor paint and maybe I research it. So I have a contact in their basement floor paint. There's no phone number, just a contact. let me open up my contacts here.
Sounds like you're taking an application that's designed for one purpose and you're making it into another purpose that it's not designed to do.
That might you might have touched something there.
You,
Yeah.
you shoehorn this thing because
Well, it's
normally
convenient.
when you make a contact and you put in notes in there, your notes are like, okay, they have these grandkids and their grandkids' birthdays are on blah blah blah, or you might have a reference to a house location, or some personal information in there, but it's not something you update all the time. You do it once and maybe revisit it and change it again, but I don't know. What do you do? Carl, you got me bewildered here.
Have you considered using note-taking apps
Yeah.
instead of throwing all this all into the contacts? Or is it better for you to use the contacts?
Well, I use my contacts as a diary, I guess. Not a diary per se. It's not daily. It's oh, like what you guys know. I'm interested in how the universe works. So I'll have things in there like uh, the moon or something. And then I'll have the information about the moon or any of the planets. I'll have a entry for, let me do one like Uranus.
Yeah. Okay, well, there are note-taking apps, including Google Keep, which are a little better suited for this sort of thing.
Yeah, and also since you're on 11, Notepad can have tabs for every note that you want to keep track of, and you can go back and forth between them. It will remember them every time you boot the computer and or you have a power outage, something like that. Furthermore, it gives you the ability to change the name of each tab, which saves a file, usually in your documents folder, so that if something really goes crazy, you've still got the note in your documents folder. But if you do an awful lot like it sounds like you're doing, OneNote would be a better choice.
Exactly what I'm getting at. There are apps that are a little better suited for that purpose. Equally,
Uh,
now I'm an unusual person. I make folders and I classify things by year and by category, and these are all different folders that I keep around. And I can just look at the name of a folder and I know that's what I was doing at that point.
when you say folders, are you talking about like labels under your mail? Because I use labels a lot for mail,
No.
but there I
Oh,
move
yeah.
mail into those labels or folders, whatever they're
Well,
in.
yeah, that's one application that uses them. But I'm talking about just ordinary File Explorer in Windows. And also on my phone, I take advantage of the fact that Android, unlike iPhone, has a file system. And you can actually use that file system to store stuff. Or, if you really want to sync everything, go up to the cloud and use a Google Drive. That uses folders just like Windows Desktop.
Yeah, I do use Google Drive a lot for almost everything.
And all you have to worry about then is running out of space.
Well, I pay extra $2 a month or something for Google to get an extra 10 gig or whatever.
That should help.
Well, that helps, yeah, but I haven't had a problem with the running out of space on Drive or Photos, Google Photos either, because that's where it gives me more. When you pay that $2 a month, it's worth it to get 10 more gig or whatever.
Yeah, especially since Google started counting your photos as part of your drive. In
Yeah,
other words, the photos and drive combined is your usage.
and I think also when I have Windows 365, I keep changing the name. I think
Microsoft 365.
Yeah, Microsoft 365, thank you. And when you pay for that, you also get a lot more space in your drive.
Yeah, well, that's OneDrive. But
OneDrive.
OneDrive and Google Drive don't interact with each other very
No,
well.
no, 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 but what, I don't know, I didn't want to bring it up, but I have duplicate pictures from every photo I take of my phone shows up in both OneDrive and Google Drive photos.
Yeah,
That's
it'll show
another,
up in Google Photos,
yeah,
and that's supposed to.
and OneDrive, because OneDrive will say a year, I get this, maybe you get it with Windows. A year ago, this is what,
Yeah,
it'll bring up your pictures. Of course, it goes back more than a year, but it's
yeah,
for every day. I get a pop-up a year ago, this is what you did, which is kind of interesting at times.
yeah. With my phone, I frequently back up everything because you never know what's going to happen to a phone, and it all ends up in some kind of cloud storage. And it can be brought back if I need to, or brought to a new phone. But I've never seen this phenomenon of duplicating stuff, although it could happen within the Google contacts.
But I'm glad though that, you know, I think it was, no, it wasn't Bob, who was the one that pointed out that it made the point that it wasn't really a contact that I'm having this problem with, it's the, notes only. It's not a,
Yeah,
and because but anyways, it's peculiar. But what I've been doing, I'm trying to find one, but under the pressure of being under scrutiny by 12 people here, I can't do it. The big audience, the World Wide Web.
yeah.
Um, I can't find one because I've been regularly doing it. What I've done when I actually I do sometimes run out of the 1,000 characters. So then I'll have say it's a sun. I have sun-1, sun-2, and it'll be information about, the sun is 93 million miles away. It takes 8.2 seconds for light to reach Earth, and I got a lot of little tidbits like that. So when I can impress somebody when somebody's talking about the sun, I say, "Oh yeah, it takes 8.2 seconds for light to reach Earth." And they say,
That is the kind of stuff
you
I
say,
would
"How do you
keep.
know that?" I say,
That is the kind of stuff I would keep in a file system.
I know, I just haven't. I don't know.
You're limiting yourself with the application you're using, and you
Yeah,
created
Yeah,
a monster.
well,
Really, it's a monster.
I don't know what to how to move it all. Let me. Somebody said, "Well, I could tell you how many contacts I have, but I could tell you
it's a large number, I'll bet.
it's well over 1,500."
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that that
that's
sounds like
crazy.
you're keeping notes rather than contacts.
Right,
I,
right.
that's very
So you
true.
may consider moving on to a different platform and using
Yeah,
a different application that will blend itself better to what you're looking to do.
yeah.
No, but I'm kind of in a rut because how do I move? I don't, I want to copy all that information one contact at a time over. So
You don't have an answer for you, but
no, I know I'm not expecting an
I
answer.
would say you need to start somewhere. So start using an application first.
That's a good way to, yep,
Get used to the application and how
yeah,
it works and how it's going to work for you, and then start Googling or look in YouTube and find somebody who wrote something on how to move it from contacts
yeah.
there.
Uh,
There might be a way. You might have to set up a macro. Who knows?
Well,
I am going to check and see if there's a way to export your
yeah, there
contacts
should be
to a
a way
readable
to,
file.
there
There
should be a
probably
way.
is. There probably is a way to send it to a CFV file.
Right.
And then you can make a spreadsheet out of it.
the issue is like a merging issue. It's it has to do with contact. I don't know what else you want to call it, because
Yeah,
I don't have phone numbers or addresses, it's
right,
just
Yeah. Here's what you'll end up with. You'll end up with a .csv file. Those lend themselves very well to spreadsheets.
right.
And
yeah,
then from the spreadsheet, you could do something, but you could extract what you need to. Because most likely, you'll end up with a column that's got notes. and it might be a pretty big column. I There is also a way of creating V cards. You can get them into Outlook.
I don't
And
use Outlook. I used to, but I got too many mail systems now. I don't use that.
okay, so yeah, you could export it, and CSV is just basically a text file anyway.
Well, I use CSV every month. I
Yeah.
download my statement from my bank, which is CSV, and then I open it up in Word, I mean in Excel, and then
Right.
I save it in Excel.
Yeah, Excel would probably create from this CSV a column that would be the top line, the contact name, and then it would have a bunch of stuff, including your notes. What I'm a little worried about is the notes might flood a cell and make it huge if
No,
they apply to the
well,
same.
I'd want a separate file name like I have now. I don't want one big folder for anything.
No. Okay,
Very good. Well, thanks,
maybe
guys,
maybe
for
maybe Sanford
helping
has
me. Well, you
something.
helped me understand my problem better, so
Okay.
that's worth money.
Yep. All
You know,
right.
I was so
Let's
impressed
go on
by.
to new question, new direction. Anyone? Will, do you have something?
I just wanted to add that I was so impressed with what you guys helped me with last time with a load saving or installing off or Microsoft 365 locally that I doubled my membership fee.
Yeah. Now,
I
now
tell
bring
you,
in another friend. We need more friends
I'm a
too.
big spender, I'll tell you.
Okay, Will, you were going to ask a question to the group?
Yes, I am in the process of upgrading both my internet connections and my home Ethernet network. And I want to go totally wireless. And I'm also going from Windows 10 to 11. So I'm going through a lot of changes real quickly here. I recently looked at the T-Mobile device at Costco, and that looked interesting, but I'm somewhat concerned about what I'm seeing on Reddit as far as the reliability of that versus staying with Xfinity, which is what I have now.
I don't know of anyone in this current arena right here that uses the T-Mobile or the Verizon system. I know Tom O'Connor does,
Yes, he's got
right?
right.
Tim, yes. But I don't know of anybody else. Will, I would have to defer you to ask Tom, if you want a member's opinion. But I've not heard him complain much about it. Tim, have you?
No, not offhand.
No.
I know it's a cellular network data gateway, basically.
Yeah.
It's
And
working off a 5G network, I believe.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a point to point,
The
but it, the only issue would be if you're rural or urban, because that's how close you are to a tower.
right.
Right.
That's the
I
key.
It doesn't really even make that much difference. What makes a difference is how your neighborhood is hooked up, whether they have these local neighborhood towers or neighborhood antennas, or if you're in a less populated area, you'll be working off the big towers. And what they're trying to do is get you to use what is essentially 5G as home internet. There is
Oh,
coming
yeah.
up, I don't know if it's in your area yet, 5G fixed wireless, meaning it goes to your home, but otherwise it's pretty much like your ISP now.
Hmm.
Oh,
I,
yeah, it's just wireless. It's a base station, digital radio base station. It's just like your internet on your phone.
Yeah, it eliminates their need to wire your house.
Yeah. I know people who have it around here and works real well. I think it's like $40 a month unless you have some other discount.
Yeah, but compare that with what was essentially a hotspot. And
Yeah.
T-Mobile has done those too. So I'm not sure which one this is.
Well, I think Verizon started, I think
Uh,
T-Mobile offering it again.
Will what are you considering? Is this a hotspot or is it the wireless? Is it the wireless to the home internet service?
I'm assuming it's wireless to the home. Costco they were showing a gateway that they said
Yeah.
you get the best service by putting it in your window. So I'm not
Yeah.
really certain what that would actually be.
Well, these gateways, the 5G gateways, I have the same wireless requirements as a cell phone I modem. It's just that they are designed to be used for always on internet instead of just occasional data use. And so they become your home internet service. And actually, the speeds are not all that impressive. You don't get 5G speeds with it.
Right.
I with the home internet version of it. And with 5G, you don't always get 5G speeds on your phone. I it's very much something they're still building out. And until they get more network capacity or better management of network resources, it's not that competitive with Xfinity. It does not carry television services or anything like that, if that's an interest. If you're just interested in the internet, compare prices and compare what people say the actual speed is, not the advertised speed.
Yeah, I think I was reading on Reddit that people were saying they were getting like 500 gigabits per second, and that doesn't sound too good.
Megabits.
Megabits, right?
That sounds pretty good to me.
500 sounds pretty good
I'm,
to
I'm,
me.
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I could be confused on that because right now, with speed test on Xfinity, I
Yeah.
get about 90, and that's about all I really need. I haven't had any problem with congestion or anything that I do that does a pretty good job for me.
And
Uh,
90 is on the low end of the spectrum for
Right.
internet speeds. I mean, they go slower than that, but 90 is on the lower end. So your price should be relatively cheap for something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
what
sub $40 a month or something like that for that kind of speed.
looking into it recently, that Xfinity's offering two programs. One they call Now 100, and that's $30 a month, and then Now 200 is $45 a month. They
Mhm.
require you to use their gateway, but they're not charging for the gateway.
Well, here's another thing, Will. If you're thinking of doing wireless in your home, it's not as rock stable as Ethernet is, particularly for situations like Zoom. In your regular web use to various online sites and downloading files and stuff like that, you may not notice it. But you got to remember, these are radio waves when it's Wi Fi, whether it's in your house or outside the house. And anything between your device that's trying to send and receive and the source of the signal can block it and degrade the strength of the signal, such as the walls of your house. Whereas the windows in your house provide very, very little degradation of that radio signal.
One of the things that I believe, especially with Costco, I don't think there's any monthly. It's a month to month deal. So you could try it out for a month and see if you like it. And even without Costco, because Costco gives you, unforgivable return policy.
Yeah, I think the deal that it just expired this weekend, I think they gave you like $100 Costco gift card if you kept the service for 3 months, which
Do it.
really,
$100, I'll take it.
yeah, it
I've
brought,
got to look into it. Where do you live? What's Costco?
that was the one in Naperville, but they said that they had it at all the stores. But that was over this weekend, and I decided to hold off until I did more research on it.
Will,
Well, you know what?
do you live?
What's it?
Hold on, Carl. Will, Do you live in Naperville?
No, I'm in Villa Park. I was,
Oh, that's right. You're okay. You're in Villa Park.
right.
What one of the things that Bob was referring to is the cell tower sizes, and because we're in a higher compacted, denser area, they have. I know Naperville does, and I think Villa Park may also. They have microcells that they already have established out in these towns. If you look on the telephone, not telephone poles, if you look on the light poles you may see down the course of a block, you'll see these cylinders that are extending up from the light pole that are like attached to it, um, your street light poles. And those may have antennas right on the top of them. Those are your microcells. And they're running them all over the place. Naperville, I've seen them in neighborhoods. There are several of them per block that they'll have it there. And that's for the 5G service.
So the closer
In,
you are to one of those microcells, the better service you're going to get, probably.
well,
Exactly, exactly.
it's line of sight. It's line of
It,
sight.
yes, but it is pulling it. You are in a higher, denser area, and they're really pumping that data through. So, I like Carl's idea. Give it a test. If it doesn't work, take it back.
Right.
Yeah, there's no commitment for installation. You're doing it. And the other thing is I haven't done this in a long time that Sanford, you triggered I know that T-Mobile has an app that will tell you where all the towers are in your whole area. I don't know. I used it one time. I don't remember how I got it.
That is not applicable to the home internet. It is tied to a particular antenna,
Right.
Yeah, but I
and
believe the home internet uses the same towers.
no, it does
No?
not.
Oh, I
In
didn't.
my area, they built a whole new infrastructure, and there are these flat antennas that are about the size of a bread box that are mounted on the utility poles, and they are directed toward houses.
Okay, so those they're flat by you, and over here they were round, but
Yeah,
they're evolving, and I've seen them like your typical cell tower antennas, but much smaller in size. So those two.
there's a lot of technical details about how they concentrate the beam on each house they want to serve. But there's the same problem there used to be with copper wire cable. It is wired in a way that is a tree and branch way, not the way the telephone network is. This is not optimal. And what shows up is there's been a Reddit thread about this, and they reported in during peak usage times, this 5G home internet can slow down by as much as 95%. And that
Hmm.
means 300 gigabytes, 300 megabytes goes down to 5 megabytes per second during peak usage times. So it does experience congestion at least as bad as the cell phone network.
But there's no commitment to try it out for a while, really.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
try it and see if you like it.
Right. All right.
And will let us know next month or so how it works.
Well, good. We'll get feedback too. That's great.
Yeah. I'm not sure when I'm going to try it. I've got a lot on the table right now, but that was one of my considerations.
I
Well,
mean,
don't only do one thing at a time. Don't do more than one thing at there. If it doesn't work, you won't know what the hell's going on.
You're right about that.
one thing Xfinity has been asking me to do for a while is replace my gateway with an updated model. I suspect this is due to a change in the DOCSIS specs.
Yeah, they want me to I have a my own gateway and they want me to change if I use that now 100 or 200 service, it's mandatory that you use their gateway.
Hmm.
I
But they're
yeah,
not charging for it. They used to charge a rental every month and they say they're not gonna there's no charge for it.
well, that's different in your area from my area.
That's
Well,
unusual.
that's another good point. I was going to mention. It's Sanford was that it very. I don't know about your area, but my each Costco one Costco will be a T-Mobile uh, site, in other words, they rent that space out, I guess. And then the other site will be
AT&T,
Verizon or AT&T.
right,
In the Chicago area, it would be AT&T. Out east, it would be Verizon.
right.
Well, I'm just talking about 10 miles apart
It-
between
It's
Costco locations.
it's whatever Costco sets up in their contracts,
Yeah, it's whoever signs up.
right? Whoever offers them more money. And because they have them both, so they probably have to allow, each of them access in their certain markets. Who knows? Next question, new direction. Bill, that was great. We really want to hear this, how this all works for you. And Bob, when you move into your new place, are you going to have fiber optic running to your room, to your place?
I have the option, but I think I'm going to keep Xfinity, which is not fiber. Because I still have some stuff on my DVR I haven't looked at,
Got it.
and I don't really want to lose that stuff.
Okay. Next question, new direction. Wow, this group is really moving.
I can bring up another aspect of my upgrading.
Sure.
What
Please do.
I am running on Windows 10 and I want to move on up to Windows 11. And I'm going to use at least two PCs on the Windows 11 machine or on the new network that I have. They're all networked together. And I've decided to try one of these mini PCs. I think it's got an Intel N150 processor. And I purchased two of them last week, and I'm just starting to play around with it right now, and wanted to know if anybody has been experimenting around with these mini PCs. They're like, the price is really great. It seems to be working fairly well. I had one glitch that I received excellent email support from the company. It was powering down against my wishes. And that's how I would normally test out a machine. I just let it run constantly, and it was randomly shutting down. And it turned out that it was configured more for a laptop than and going into a sleep mode. But I emailed the company, and they were able to get back within a day with the solution for that. And the other question that I had for them, they sent a YouTube back, a link for a YouTube. I wanted to set this up so that one of the machines could be set up with a wake on LAN feature so that it wouldn't have to be powered up all the time. And that would be more or less acting as the server to the other machines on the network. So that's where I'm going with my upgrading from 10 to 11.
Who's the vendor?
The name of the company is GMK Tech.
Okay, I see this one right here.
And I don't know.
On Amazon?
Yes, I got it on Amazon.
Okay,
I had run into another YouTube that a techie had recommended it because of, yeah, there you go right there. I think mine is not that model that you have up. Mine was actually a lower price model, but that's definitely the manufacturer.
okay, lower price model. So this one's 8 gigs with 256 gigs M.2 SSD. What is yours configured?
It looks like it's 512 gig, and the 16 must be
That'd be the RAM.
yeah, it must be the RAM in it.
Trouble is, these low end ones tend to be low end chips, low end, low end CPUs, and you will run into performance issues with Windows 11 if your CPU is too low end.
It was a N150, I think, a Intel N150.
Yeah, that's basically a Celeron.
You can have an N95, N97, N100, N150, N200, N350, 350 and a 355, but the 355 may have the same as the 350. But the difference is that the 100 series and below are 4-core processors. The 200, I can't remember for certain if it's a 4 or an 8, and the 350 is an 8 CPU core processor.
Is this the one I have here on the screen? Is this coming without an OS?
No, I think they're packaging them with Windows 11 Pro. At least mine had that right out of the box.
Okay.
That's a variation of the manufacturer, whether a model of whatever they produce is either home and or pro OS.
Right.
Uh, on these mini PCs, I've had some experience buying and working with them. You have to be very careful about whether it's the bare bones price or whether it's the fully built price.
Hmm. Now this one says it's has the Intel Twin Lake N150 upgraded N100. They're just playing on words here, right?
N150, N100, not a whole lot of performance difference, is there?
Right.
Yeah, they're very close. The a 150 will give you a nudge more than the 100, but before the 150 came out, some people reviewing them thought the N97 was better than the N100 for whatever that's worth. But these are lightweight units, but conceptually, Will, what you're in general looking at, these minis are a hot commodity right now. They've been hot for about 8 months now.
And
And
there's nothing wrong with these mini PCs. I think, Will, I think you're doing something pretty good here. You know, they use less electricity, they're smaller footprint, they get the job done. You'll be able to watch 4K video on them. Um,
However, if you run them continuously, they tend to develop heat issues.
yes, they can. Um, so, but just beware of that situation. Put it in a well ventilated space.
well, that's another question of the minis. Some of these lower end ones have no fan, number one. And number two, you got to look all around the sides, top and bottom, as to ventilation. Some of them look like they have vents, but the vents are just like decoration. It's actually blocked up. So the flow of air through vents may not be as good on some models versus other models.
It's got a lot of good specs in here, though.
Yeah, it looked really interesting. I
And
also thought if just to use it for the learning curve of Windows 11, it's really inexpensive and didn't have to interfere with what I'm doing right now. I could work it in at my leisure.
sure.
Yeah, I do have some concern whether that processor can really make the most of Windows 11, but it depends on what you're doing with it. If all you're doing is email and surfing the web, it'll be just fine.
Is GMK a US company or Chinese or Taiwan? Do you know?
All of these are built in mainland China.
Yeah, it's
And I do be aware there will be an increase in tariffs.
Yep.
So the prices are subject to change.
Subject to change. So if you're interested in buying this stuff, you should buy it now before it goes up.
By
That
the
might be
way,
tomorrow. I mean, it all went up 3 days ago, right?
yeah.
does it,
It went up and then they relented on some of it, but not on Chinese stuff.
Oh,
does this come with display ports or just HDMI?
It had two HDMI ports.
Yeah, they very seldom have DisplayPort anymore.
Yeah, DisplayPort, no.
Can somebody enlighten me on the benefits of DisplayPort versus HDMI or vice versa?
That's Jim's domain.
DisplayPort was supposed to have a bit more video quality than HDMI, but it's almost come to the point where it's almost imperceptible by most people's vision.
I think can't HDMI put throughput more than DisplayPort?
No,
Well, you can run 8K through HDMI. Can you run that through DisplayPort?
yeah,
Okay.
last I heard anyway, unless they delayed it.
Now,
Uh,
Tim, I always thought the advantage of DisplayPort is like if you were in a large room, you could daisy change the monitors. You didn't, instead of having like a hub,
Yes, that's true too, which you can't do with HDMI. But
you need a hub.
really, I don't like what they say originally, but it always comes up. The quality of the display for DisplayPort was better quality than HDMI, but HDMI keeps evolving. I'm not sure DisplayPort is. So modern HDMI and DisplayPort are pretty equal right at the moment.
I
yeah,
do. I buy the Dell come off a lease computers, and they come with Pro, and they all have DisplayPort. They have HDMI. They'll have one HDMI, but they'll have at least two display ports.
Right.
They're like the industrial version. They're used in well, these happen to be used in banking operations.
Or doctor's offices. They're a 7 by 7 by inch and a quarter, and those have socketed CPUs, which can be changed in the same generation, say from an i3 to an i5 or i7. I don't know about an i9, but in the normal 5 inch square minis, those are roughly laptop soldered in CPU chips. What you buy is all it's ever going to be. You cannot upgrade the CPU.
Yeah. And they think they have, is it M1 or M2 memory?
M.2.
M.1,
No,
M.2?
It had M2,
M.2 is the storage format. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
a format.
not the
That can
memory,
be
just format.
SATA or it can be NVMe. And most of the minis of either size use the NVMe. Very few, and they're very old models, may only use the SATA version.
Well, you were saying about setting up a LAN setup in your house, or what were you going to do? A server?
Yeah, well, currently I have an Ethernet setup uh, and have three computers running on it. And in one of them, I have a hard drive hanging off of it on a USB port, so I can access that hard drive from any of the other computers. And what I'm hoping to do is get away from the Ethernet completely and go with the wireless system and have one of these GMKs have the file system, whether it's internal or I hang an SSD externally from it. But I want the other GMK and possibly other machines down the road to be able to access all that on a wireless basis.
Be cautious of using a USB port in the back of the router. Number one, that's disappearing. Number two, if bad guys, they get all the information of all the routers and modems out there. If they got your code, they can get into your system and see everything that's on that drive.
Well, I was gonna hang the drive off of the PC, not off the router.
Yeah.
You can do that, but still, once they're in your network, they can take their time breaking it into each of your machines, and any attached drive that isn't used fairly heavily, you're going to end up possibly getting something like a ransomware as a suggestion, and it will affect any USB device, storage device you have attached to any computer that gets that ransomware.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to use it as backup versus sharing files and information, then you only want to plug it in when you're doing a backup. When your backup is completely done, you remove it so that it cannot be tainted by malware like ransomware.
Well, that's a good idea.
I guarantee it. And this is stuff that's been going around the internet for many, many a years as far as cybersecurity. This even applies to a thumb drive. If the thumb drive is only used, say, once in a great while to copy a file from one machine to another machine, fine. Use it and then disconnect it from any of the machines. It cannot get infected.
What about using it for Ready Boost?
Ready Boot is almost a dead product because it was designed for real old systems and with primarily spinning hard drives. It got replaced by SSHD, and that is a combination of an SSD small solid state drive on a hard drive to perform the same function. And with SSDs, it will tell you if you try and use Ready Boost with an SSD, even a SATA SSD, which is the low end, it's going to say, sorry, can't do it.
Who
So let
here
me see.
is
I
still
want to,
who's still using Windows 10 in this group?
Oh, I still use
On their
10.
main machine, not as
Not
just in
okay.
general.
This is a secondaries.
Secondaries, I got secondaries, but on their main machines,
Well,
uh,
that's why I'm upgrading to 11.
okay. Now, is it you're upgrading? Did you have to do the hardware upgrade because your hardware you were using is not compatible?
I believe so, and it's old hardware, and I really wanted to downsize from the tower to a small mini, if as long as it's going to work. I've got too much stuff hanging around, and I
Well, and that's exactly why the minis, both sizes, the smaller and the bigger one, are hot commodities because of that small footprint and lower power consumption, especially when you're not really using it heavily.
Right. Big improvements have been made in technology since our old towers that we used to buy that had 100,000 watts on our processor.
oh yeah,
Those still
You know,
exist. Those still exist
I
because
know they
the
still exist,
high-end gamers are the ones that use them.
right? But we don't necessarily need it anymore. We don't need those 100 million kilowatts on.
Are you kidding? They're
hey, Sam,
now
Sam,
having to build their own
Carl's
power
trying to show us that his
stations.
watch is a million. What is it? What's going on with your watch?
well, I just want to tell you the capabilities, not just in the small footprint that Tim is talking about. And this is a Samsung Ultra watch. There used to be, it's like a seventh generation. And I don't remember how much memory's on there. Is it 512 or some darn thing? You know, I could make calls from it. It gives me my text messages. I mean, it blows me away. I mean, it weighs ounces. It wasn't cheap either, but I mean, it was like, well, the thing of this, Samsung and I guess everybody else, they give you almost half, if it's like 2 or 3 years old, they give you half of what you paid for it to buy a new one. You trade it. They want to keep, you as a customer. And it's good too because it's bad enough to learn how to use any new device when they're different OSs.
Yeah, things have downsized from towers to mini PCs and laptops, and then phones, and now something you can wear on your wrist.
Yeah, and part of this upgrading or this enhancements is allowing us to go to the smaller footprint devices like Will is interested in purchasing, is the speed of the processors, the number of cores they're putting in there, their pipelines that they have in there are moving the data so much more efficiently than they used to, uh, that they're able to get away with a lower end unit, lower end processors and motherboards to be able to do what we used to have a big, huge box for.
I mean, this thing, I can make calls from this watch and receive call. You know what the advantage is if I'm working out or if I'm in my car or somewhere, I'm in church and I get a phone call on my phone, I have my phone silent. But the watch will tell me what's going on. I could just look at my watch and decide if it's urgent, if I should answer it or not, just by looking at my watch. I don't have to pull the phone out of my pocket.
Anyone else here use a smartwatch?
I used to until it passed away.
Bert's got one. Bert, what do you have, an Apple Watch? Or no?
I use the Apple Watch.
Bert, he's got him muted. Bert, there you are.
This is an Apple Watch.
Apple Watch. Okay, same here.
Mine
Apple
was an
Watch.
Apple Watch too, but it didn't even last 3 years and it died.
Time to get another one.
Okay, you're buying.
Yeah.
I also got the earbuds. Um, and I'm still not sure um, if I'm comfortable with them or not.
Okay. The Apple earbuds?
Yeah.
And is it because they don't fit in your ears, like physically comfortable, or the concept of using them?
No, it's mostly about how they feel.
Yeah.
So, once in a while, I've changed the size uh, and a little bit, but I haven't gotten comfortable with it yet. And you have to keep charging these things. You know, that's something you have to do in addition to your phone, and it's just a number of things to charge to keep them all
Everything,
usable.
everything needs to be charged these
There
days,
are-
including us.
There are
Bert,
some.
I got earbuds too, but you want to get those lanyards that attach to it because if you lose one of those earbuds, if you're out walking or something, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
That's one of my concerns too.
Well,
So
that's
You can
the
get
they've
the
fallen out once or twice.
you can get the lanyards, they sell them for it.
they
Attach.
make a power station so that you can have your phone, your watch, your earbuds, etc., all charging on the single unit,
Yeah.
and it makes it more
Yeah,
efficient.
but I don't know that there's any advantage to that because then you have nothing working. So
Everything's being charged.
It's ugly and it takes up a lot of real estate on your nightstand too.
The ones I've seen aren't that big and cumbersome, and you don't have to put it on your nightstand. You could, I assume you have a dresser or a chest of drawers in your room, and that's where you can have it sit.
I want to
well, I
reach it.
have many of these little holders that I have
Yes.
around the house,
Right.
and that just holds up a phone or anything else.
Or a
But
book
Well,
or a
they have
tablet.
a holder like that on these charging stations, then an arm for putting your watch on it, and then there's down in the tray where you put the earbuds to charge them.
yeah, I've seen them, but I don't think it's practical to do them all at the same time.
Well, with the Samsung, you get a case that you put the earbuds in.
Right.
and it has a charger built into it. You don't have to have it plugged in. It will deplete, whatever's in that device holder.
Well, that's this too, but
Yeah, right. So, I mean, you don't have to plug it into the wall until that holder storage, power goes down.
so I have it set so I can see how much power is left on my watch, very close to the top when I look at it. So I know if I'm getting too low and need to charge it. So, but I mean, so far it hasn't, it hasn't been a problem because I'm careful. But over time, it'll stop happening. I'll
Does
forget
it,
to take care of it.
Bert, does the Apple give you REM sleep and quality of sleep and how many hours you actually sleep versus
Yes.
Yeah, it gives you all that stuff, but when you first get it, it doesn't give you that. And the more you use it over a few weeks, that's when you start getting those other pieces of information. So you can feel bad that you didn't sleep enough, or it's set up so every hour it reminds me to stand up. Is one of the things that's built into it.
oh, does it give you congratulations too when you meet your goal like mine?
Sure,
Yes.
I
sure.
like that. I like a
I'll
pat
do
on the
that.
back.
One of the things, Bert, that I had done to utilize the activities or my sleep following information is I use an app called Sleep Plus Plus, and it's a freebie. I downloaded that one and it works with my Apple Watch. It pulls in the information that Apple picks up from the watch from when I go to sleep and when I wake up. And then it discerns how long I was awake, how much REM, core, deep sleep, all this good stuff. And you can modify your sleep times. I did find that it was beneficial to set up a sleep schedule. If you have somewhat of a sleep schedule, you generally go to bed about this time and you generally wake up about that time. It does much better on tracking your sleep habits, just in general with the Apple Watch. It's not that particular app, but just in general with
I
the
set
Apple
up a
Watch.
sleep time period,
Right.
but but if you take a nap during the day, it doesn't really record it
No,
exactly
it
the same
doesn't.
way.
And I thought it would, and I wish it would. That's annoying that it doesn't do that.
You know what I like cool is after I go to bed, the watch doesn't wake you, you move I wear it. Of course, you need to wear it if you're going to get the benefit for sleep at night. But the watch doesn't wake up until like daylight.
Hmm.
In other words, it's not waking you up if you move your wrist.
Yeah,
And
it knows once it learns your sleep schedule, or you, as we were discussing, you tell
yeah,
it what your sleep schedule is, then it'll not bother you with emails or messages that came in overnight until your wake hour, your wake time. Then all of
well,
a sudden the watch is going bing, 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 bing.
But if you need to, you can
Apple's like the Cadillac, and Samsung is like trying its best to be an Apple with the features. Yeah.
if you need to, you can just tap the watch and it'll open up
Oh yeah, yeah. But I'm
finding the sleep
saying,
time.
like right now, if I just pick up my hand, it lights up the display. Otherwise, it's dark. It's not on
I
until
haven't
I
really
move.
used it, but there's this apparently a feature where you move your fingers and it does something.
Well, I have three buttons on the Samsung.
Same
Well,
here.
there's only
We
the
got a crown
dial on
and
this
one
one.
extra button. We got two buttons on the
Yeah,
Apple.
the new one has three. The others only had two.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got two.
I liked it. I like it when it says you met your goal.
So
It's
the
like
other thing that's
pat on the
good,
back, pat on the back.
um, probably the main reason that I have a Apple Watch is for the fall detection and the SOS feature. And those of us that are all getting old, we're no longer young kids anymore. We may have those issues that show up, like stumbling over a brick that suddenly popped up in the middle of your footpath when you're walking, and you stumble and fall. And at least that will notify and send out an SOS to somebody, whoever you have on your call list. So good thing to have is one of these watches just for emergencies. You can also just push and hold the crown. I'm sure Carl, yours is the same way. If you press and hold the crown, it'll dial whoever's in your emergency contact list.
Yeah, I haven't used that feature yet, but it does have that feature, fall feature.
I have
They,
had it go off on me once. And suddenly my kid is calling me going, Dad, your watch said you fell. Are you okay?
yeah, right. Well, that's why my kids were pushing me to buy the one with that feature because,
Yep.
but
It's a good.
well, I walk a dog. I have a dog, and I walk him almost every night when the weather's not real bad. And I like this keeps track of as GPS gives me actual distance, and
Mhm.
then it gives me the steps. And if I walk a mile or more, ironically, what I find it's pretty close to my pant leg length. I have a 30-inch instep on my legs, and it'll come out to that if I'm walking over a mile, or that because it'll vary on your stride, but the distance is of course fixed. So you just and it gives me the time, the distance and I like that. And it records it on my on my phone, so I have a history too. I can look at how I'm doing, and it gives you a quality. I'm sure Apple has all these things. Says Apple,
Oh
I
yeah.
prefer number one. It gives you a quality number, and then for the REM, it tells you how much REM, how much light sleep, how many times you woke up at night. You'd be surprised how much times you're not sleeping. You don't realize it.
Oh, I
But I have a sleep apnea machine, and I'm on that for about 7 years now. And it doesn't give you that granularity, it just tells you how many hours you had the mask on or minutes. That's it. But the watch gives you granularity. But at some point, I don't watch the REM. In the beginning, I thought it was really cool to read the REM. Now, not so much.
I was looking for an app that does exercise, and I'm at a minimal exercise point right now. And does anybody have anything that they use?
for for monitoring exercise
Well,
or for implementing exercise.
for implementing, in other
Implementing.
words. I used to watch Sit and Be Fit on TV years ago. And so I feel like I'm at that stage where I'm not ready to do any real exercise, but just a little bit of exercise. And the watch has a number of apps there where you can get an exercise app, but I'm not sure what would be appropriate.
Bert, you're using an Apple iPhone, right?
Yeah, I got an iPhone, I got the watch, and I got the
Well,
earbuds.
there is Apple does have a health when they have a health app, but they also have a health fitness program that you can pay for, and that will get
Well, there's a
you
number of them, but I
right.
don't. But
I'm looking
I
at
always, when looking at them, it's kind of like you see heavy exercise, which is
yeah,
not.
I'm just referring to the one that Apple has. I don't know about the other programs that are out there.
Well, but these are all Apple ones, and they're basically selling exercise as one of their services, which you pay for. And there's all kinds of exercise leaders, and you got to pick one or whatever. And there's a few apps, but nothing talks about minimal exercise, which is what I wanted.
All right, let me jump in here because I got a help for you. I use Silver Sneakers, which paid for by my Blue Care network. But there is a free one. This is what you want. It's called getsetup.com. GETSETUP.com. It's free. It's for seniors. I think it's paid for by some federal funding. And
It's
they've got
mobile.
classes for all levels and a lot, not just exercise, a lot of things for seniors.
Is this from the watch or is this?
No, I do it on the laptop, and then you can, they have
Yeah,
schedules,
I
and then
understand. There's
different
a lot
classes.
of
Very
programs.
beginner. You have sitting exercises. You can do every manner and level.
There
There
you
it is.
go.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Partner with us. This is a good one.
Yeah, no, Get Set Up is really good. I don't remember how many years I got, but it's similar to the silver sneakers, which I also get, and they have regular programs. They have them cardio, just even yoga or whatever. They have all day long. I mean, it's basically morning to late afternoon, when you're doing exercises,
Another
warm-ups.
Well,
another
I haven't gotten over my move that I did last year, so keep that in mind, Bob.
Well, check out Get Set Up. You got to get inspired. But you know what it is? You get going, then you don't want to stop. But once you stop, it's hard going back.
It is.
Well, I
Um,
do some things like walking through grocery stores and that kind of thing, and it's still pretty hard for me to do a lot of that right now.
Sometimes I just think about exercising. That's enough.
I we're kind of really going off topic here, but we do have it somewhat on the computer end because we found some apps on that.
Well,
And
when I go to shopping, I use steps. I'm counting steps on the watch, so
right,
we're right in there.
yeah, right in there. Okay. Um, and you could always consult with your medical provider. They may have programs available to you. Some of our medical providers, like Advocate Healthcare or something like that, have educational stuff, or I'm sorry, they'll have fitness programs that can feed you information directly from their website. So you
Well,
may
like
want
the Park District has or the library rather, has programs like a yoga kind of class.
right.
But all the old women that are in there, I don't see any men. So what do I know?
Okay, so you'd be the only guy there. What's the problem here? I know
Women
when I
love
was a young, that's what I wanted to do is hang out where all the girls were.
You
So
might get some interest.
Well,
I guess I'm no longer young.
the women love the men in there because they know they're safe.
Uh-oh. Everybody hung up.
You can't see anybody else. You only see the instructor. You don't see anybody else.
Ah,
One of the advantages of where I'm moving to is they have a fitness center. And it doesn't cost extra. Well, some programs do.
okay, shall we go on to new subjects, new questions, topics? All right. I have a topic. I made a big purchase this last month, and I wound up buying an electric car. My wife and I did. We bought my son's car, which was out by Boston, your old Bob.
Mm-hmm.
So last Friday, we flew out to Boston, stayed for the weekend, and then started our journey back on Sunday, driving a Ford Mach-E all-electric car from Boston to Chicago, which was a 1,000-mile trip. It took us about 2.5 days to do it. Um, this was a big step because we've never owned an electric car before. We had no idea I researched the heck out of it and felt comfortable with our decision, but this was a gamble to see how this would work. And I was very pleased and very happy. One with the purchase, but two with the technology that was put into this car and how it got me from Boston to Chicago. So I'll open up with questions, but then I'll give you guys more information. More information is I could tell you more about the trip.
About
How many times did you have to recharge?
Um, because the answer to the question would be on Tuesday we charge 4 times, and on Monday we charged 3 times, and on Sunday we charged once in the middle of to our destination. But then we had to charge again before we left, so that'd be 2 times. So we drove from Boston to Nyack, New York. You know where that's at, Bob, or at least you have an
I
idea.
have an idea.
Yep, it's north of New York City,
Yep.
by the Como Bridge. Yeah,
Yep.
the Como Bridge was the one we went over.
All right.
The charging actually was not an issue, was not a problem. Finding chargers is not an issue or a problem. The speed of them was pretty good. Generally, it took about 25 minutes to a half hour to charge up, which isn't bad because you consider you're stopping at most places. You got to go to the bathroom. You might want to grab a bite or even stretching your legs. Next thing you know, 20 minutes is gone. Unless you're doing a quick, like I need to get from point A to point B, where you want to fill up with gas and get going, this made us slow down a bit on our journey.
So for a half hour, how much miles did you get in the charge?
Oh, you can pick up about close to 200.
Is that considered a fast charger?
Yeah, it's for the, yeah, yeah.
How much will it cost you to get a charging at your house for that?
Well, currently um, wait, I'm not sure what you mean by
Well,
the,
don't you need a higher voltage to plug it in at home?
Only
it's
if you want to use supercharging mode.
bingo. You don't have to use supercharging at home. You can charge your car, which we currently are doing on 110.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And if we feel we need to charge it up more, then I'll run over to a charging station and give it an extra juice and pay some extra money to have it brought up to a higher speed or a higher amount if I need to have done so.
Well, if you
It's
have to start from scratch, I mean, it's low and you have to charge it up to full power. How long will it take at 110?
For 8 hours,
no, days.
days.
Okay.
Days. Okay. And I'm not trying to exaggerate that. It does take a long time on 110 because you're only pulling in,
20 amps.
I forgot, yeah, maybe 20 amps, 15, 20 amps. Actually, if it's a 20 amp circuit, you're only going to pull in 15. You're only
Yeah.
pulling, 80% of what the circuit can do. And I'm not going to get into, the nuances of that. There's a lot of research you can do on what's involved if you want to put high speed charging in and what it's going to cost you and all that other stuff. And it's all out there on YouTube. You can find out anything you want on that. But it works. So far, it's working for us. We come home, we plug it in, and we let the thing sit in the garage because our cars sit part of the time. And then
All
you need to
right.
go somewhere, you go.
All right. I drive a Corvette. What's your 0 to 60 in your Mach-E?
I have no idea.
By
But
the way, electric cars have an advantage. Electric motors can deliver almost infinite torque even while starting up, accelerating, or doing things like that. They can
yes,
be pretty quick to accelerate.
they are extremely quick. And, Carl, I didn't buy the car for speed, even
No,
though
I know. I didn't expect you would have.
and
Yeah.
and there are ones out there that it's amazing what they can do. Let's see, Mach-E 0 to 60 is 3.3.
Yeah, that's fast.
Okay, so that's pretty and
Oh,
then
that's very fast. Yeah.
3.5 seconds is another one.
Yeah.
So they're still pretty damn fast.
When but there's two needles. One is going to speed and the other is the battery needle going the other way.
Yeah, but the battery doesn't drain that fast.
No, no, I
You,
know. It's
they,
the size of the battery. That's what it is. Yeah.
it is. I mean, the battery is the size of the car.
If you want to get the most mileage out of an electric car, you're not going to be accelerating suddenly or braking suddenly.
Right.
But they will recapture energy if you brake more gradually.
Correct.
I don't know. I like the fun of accelerating. I don't care what you say.
And Carl, you're right. It's right. That's what's nice about electric cars is the torque that's in there, the immediate torque. It blows away what you got on a car. We
Well,
test.
I agree with you. You know what it is you know you can do it if you want to, and that is the satisfying feature.
Yes, when we were test driving a Genesis, a new Genesis that came out last year, and that one had 500 horsepower. We took it on a street, and my wife pushed on the pedal, and the next thing I know, I felt like my face was being pulled all the way back. It was just,
Yeah,
it was the speed and the torque off of that thing was just so much. And
I
there,
don't care what they say, it's intoxicating. I've been driving a Corvette for 25 years, I can tell you.
yeah. So that's one thing, but the thing that made this trip nice is it's somewhat autonomous driving capabilities that the car has built in. It's not a Tesla, and the Teslas have the full autonomous driving. But what the Ford has implemented is what they call Blue Cruise, and they have this available on their F-150s and their Chevy Cruises and their other a lot of their other cars already have this Blue Cruise capability. So basically, it's utilizing the um, um, adaptive cruise control that adjusts your space between you and the car in front of you, as well as your bubble around you, because it has cameras that monitor your right and left side as well as behind you. And it will keep you centered in the lane. The cameras on this one are also looking at your eyes to make sure you're paying attention to the road and not looking at
Oh,
your
yeah.
and not looking at your cell phone. And
Yeah.
so I found on this trip we had that self-driving capability, and it worked to me excellent. I was engaged in more part of the driving than typically I am because I've been driving, driving from Boston to Chicago 1,000 miles is a boring drive at times, and you want to fall asleep. And this car kept me awake. It would, if you start, your eyes are drifting the wrong place, it starts beeping at you. It tells you to put your hands on the wheel. With its self-driving capabilities, you don't have to have your hands on the wheel at all. So basically, I put them in my lap, but you have to keep watching because every now and then it'll say, "There's a curve coming up here, and I don't like it. I want you to put your hands back on the wheel," and you put your hands back on the wheel.
I have that feature on my GMC SUV. It's like sitting in a chair at your table. You're just
It's
sitting there, and
yeah,
I stay in the right lane. Somebody pulls in front of me, or it slows down, and I can go around if I want to, or just wait. It accelerates and slows down. I've driven 150 miles without touching the gas or the brake, and
that's
that is very nice, by the
That's
way.
really nice. It really is a nice feature, but yet you're still engaged. It wasn't like you were drifting
Yeah,
off and falling asleep. You can't get away with reading the paper or anything.
no,
You're still driving the car. It's just
no, no.
now the stress or the monotony has been reduced.
Well, just not doing braking and accelerating is a big stress reliever,
It
I
is.
find, anyways.
Yeah, the car will automatically brake for you. Like you said, it will even take you down to zero in stop and go traffic and bring you right back up as traffic moves on. That's a wonderful thing. The Blue Cruise, the Ford Blue Cruise, will not do lane changes though. This you have to do yourself.
Oh, yeah, and well, neither will the GMC. But the
Right.
GMC, actually, the automatic cruise only works about 40 miles an hour, I believe. The
This
braking,
work this works from zero up,
yeah,
whatever.
well, that's good.
Once you
Well, my
engage it.
car is 5 years old now, so.
Yeah. But that's the technology that Ford built into this. There's a
No,
lot of technology in front of me on the right-hand side where the dash is a big 12-inch tablet. Takes a little getting used to the fact it's there, but your maps are there and all your car controls are right through there. You have your heated seats, you have all the audio controls through there, yet they still have some manual dials and stuff that you can utilize that.
yeah, you want that. I like dials. I don't want touch screen.
Right. So we've seen we were test driving a lot of different vehicles before we made this decision to buy
Okay,
this
good.
one.
Good. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was right price, right time, and his lease,
No.
his his balloon was coming due because he had a balloon payment on there and it was due. So it worked out for him and he sold it to us, which was the opposite.
Oh, do you have a regular ICE car too?
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Very good. Very
Anyone
good.
got more
Good.
questions for me?
Thanks for the feedback, by the way.
So the charging what was nice is the charging worked real easy. You basically once I got my accounts all set up, you just go right up, you pull up to the charger, you plug the charger into the car. The billing is already done.
Well,
It automatically,
you have an app where all the chargers are too, right?
yeah, and that came right from Ford.
Yeah.
Ford gives you the app.
And they're using
This
Tesla chargers too.
Yes, they were the first ones to use the Tesla
Yeah,
chargers, was
right.
Ford. So the technology that's in place here is for what you do is you use Apple CarPlay. I'm sorry, yeah, Apple CarPlay to plot your maps, and it uses Apple Maps. So when I told it I wanted to go from from Nyack, New York, we went to Youngstown, Ohio was our first destination. It was halfway point. And what it would do is it'll say, okay, this is the route you're going to take. It plots out your route on the interstate, all your exits. Then it'll say, okay, you're going to need to stop and charge at this point, and you're going to be at this level of juice when you stop to charge. And what it wants to do is it wants to get you down to somewhere close to 20% of battery left because it wants to charge you from 20 to 80 because that's the fastest charging you'll get.
Right.
Anything once you start getting over 70 and up,
Yeah, slow.
the throttle, the fire hose is diminishing. It's going slower
Yeah,
into the
right.
car. So your fastest charge will be in that first 20
Yeah.
percent up to 80.
Sanford, can you imagine not having an app and having a car like that? It wouldn't work.
No.
This takes away all that. It's peace of mind with the app. My
And it
gosh.
works so much. And you do this all right in the car on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going here. It computes out the whole thing. It tells you where you're going to go, where you're going to stop, it takes you right to the charging location, handles the billing. You get back in the car, and it takes you back onto the road, and you keep going, and you go to the next one.
I'm not familiar with the Mach-E, but I know people one person who has one. But some of the electric vehicles have a whine, the SUVs. Does this have a whine? I can tell when there's an IV electric vehicle going down the street.
Do you know
There's a
why?
whine.
You know what that whine is?
Mm-mm.
That's actually it's a music thing. It's odd. They have a little speaker in there and they broadcast that whine sound
I didn't know
because
that.
electric cars are very quiet. So
Yeah, I
they
thought it had to
actually
do with the transmission or the motor.
they manufacture
Gearing.
that sound. They manufacture it.
I
It's a
So
safety thing,
I
right? It's a
didn't know
safety thing.
that.
It's
I
for
just-
safety.
blind people and visually impaired people to know you're there.
and
I
and
never,
Not
I
to
never
mention
knew
the
that.
occasional deer.
it's
I
for
never
everybody.
knew that.
The cars are very quiet, so that
Yeah.
sound is actually it's manufactured sound.
Oh,
Also, I ride a bike, and if you've got an electric car coming up behind you, you really want to hear that noise.
You really do because
and
they're
if you're
quiet.
if you're walking down the path like I do to a park, you wish the damn bike behind you had it because they blow by you and you don't know it.
You know, in my area, I Boston has a long history of people riding their bikes on the streets and getting mixed up with this crazy traffic. I When we're on bike paths, we have some etiquette, which includes announcing to people who are walking, bike on your left. It's just part of the etiquette, part of the culture of riding a bike in Boston. And you learn it fast, or else people start yelling at you.
Yeah, that they do.
Well,
And
I
Boston
walk.
people are not afraid to yell at you.
Oh, they are
Well,
not.
I walk my dog. Unfortunately, time when school comes out, there's a middle school and a high school, and those kids on the way home, they do not do that. They just blow by you.
Okay, but let's stay on subject here. Okay,
Yep.
so so I kind of went through some details about the car, about the
Yeah.
mapping, how it all worked,
And the charging and
and
everything.
the charging was seamless. and the car is pretty self-sustaining. The only thing fluid I had to put in there was windshield washing fluid, and that's it. There's low maintenance on these cars. So, but I will say the controls that you have in the computerized dash is just tremendous. Things you could turn on, safety features, on or off, what you wanted to monitor, what kind of performance do you want out of the car? Do you need, better traction in the snow, which most cars have, or do you need a lower gear? I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, actually, depending on where the battery center of mass is, sometimes you actually get better traction in snowy and icy conditions with an electric car than you do with an ice car
Yeah.
because of the difference of distribution of weight.
But it's usually across the whole bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the whole bottom is it, and it has a low CG. Um, and depending upon like the car I have is a little bit longer of a wheelbase, so the turning of it just handles really nice on curves and stuff.
Is that all-wheel drive on that?
Yeah, it's all-wheel drive. It's a dual motor, and we went through some pretty heavy rains coming here, and I never felt that car even think it was going to slip, on the roads.
It's good
So,
tires.
yeah, good tires too, but because of the weight of it, and the low CG, I think it really helps a lot.
Very good. So how long have you had it now?
Oh, we just got back to Tuesday.
Oh, very
I mean, I
recent.
just picked it up this last Friday.
Oh, okay.
At new.
Wow, very
How many
good.
miles on it now?
It's got 24,000 on it now.
Okay. What do you expect to get from it overall? Mileage wise.
Mileage?
I mean,
In other words, how long do these electric vehicles last? And the
yeah.
answer is you'll only run into an electric hybrid battery replacement issue, usually not until at least 150,000, probably
Okay.
200,000 miles.
Okay.
At that point, you
I
consider unloading it on some unfortunate soul.
Right. Now that's a hybrid. Now I'm driving a full
Yeah.
electric vehicle. And Bob is reflecting back to the fact he owns a Prius, and that has the hybrid battery in there. I previously had owned a Honda Civic hybrid, and I sold it with 237,000 miles on it. The battery that one had 137,000 miles on that battery.
So, what's the expected lifespan of the battery of your car?
You know what? I don't know if they know yet, because there's Teslas out there with over 300,000 miles on them, over 200,000 miles on them, and their batteries, and you could read up on how the degradation of the batteries are.
What's the warranty on the battery, the one you have?
I
7 years,
I
8 years?
think that was an 8 year, 100,000 on the battery and the motor.
I can see it 7 years from now, Sanford's gonna have a sign, for sale, only needs a battery.
No, no, no. The agreement my wife and I made is we're going to give this 2 years and see if we like this.
Sure.
And in 2 years, we'll decide which one we'd go with next, because there's a lot of really nice vehicles out there now.
Well,
And
that's the problem. The technology is changing so
right,
much.
it not just that, but they really do a lot of good engineering on these cars now. They're how quiet they are, how comfortable the ride is, and the technology they put in there, thinking more of how we as the older adults need to be
Oh, it's
concerned
amazing,
with,
amazing.
our abilities and inabilities and shortfalls. And that's part of the reason we made this progression, is because we still want to travel, we still want to go to places, but falling asleep at the wheel and getting in an accident is really not something we want to have happen. So we want a car that's going to help us make that not happen.
Well, I gotta confess, When I was a kid, I built electric go-karts when I was
Okay.
before I could drive a car. And I used a Ford, I used like this Ford starter motor because the GM cars had a Bendix with a gear in the starter. You couldn't connect a pulley to that. But the Ford, I'd go to the junkyard, it had a long shaft, maybe 8, 10 inches long, a half-inch shaft or 5/8 shaft. And that's what I made electric go-karts. And then I had this great idea. I didn't know it was called perpetual motion. I connected a generator up to it. And my buddy who lived a mile away, I could go to his house and back. And then when I put the generator on, I couldn't barely make it to his house because I didn't know about efficiency. And when I studied electrical engineering and I took classes on motors, I knew all about efficiency. The generator only was 25% efficient. So I was using 75% more energy trying to charge the battery.
Can you run things off of your Sanford, like around tools or anything like that?
No,
Truck.
that's
That's the
I mean,
Cybertruck.
I don't think there's a 110. I know there's a DC 12-volt outlet in there, but I don't
Yeah,
think there's a 110. That's like the Ford Lightning does that.
yeah.
It's the
Ford
ability
Lightning.
to run your house, if you will. But it's a much bigger vehicle too.
Good, good. Well, you're the first one I know given a report. That's great.
Yeah,
I
I
see.
mean, there's been people in our group that have Teslas, or there was somebody who had one for a while and he got rid of it, and he said no, they weren't ready yet. Um, but that was a number of years ago
Oh
that he
yeah,
got rid of his, and it didn't work for him. But technology has changed, and
uh,
hopefully it's improved. Okay, so that was my subjects or something to talk about. Anybody else
good,
want?
good information. I'm going to sign out because I
Okay.
have to get up.
We don't seem to have any more topics to discuss. Anyone have any final topics? If not, I will conclude tonight's meeting.
Very relaxing and thought provoking. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.